Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gum Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Sam Saraswate Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om all. So,
Hari
today,
Om.
Hari Om. So today we will enter into a new chapter, a new area of practices and new subject. Last time I said next session I will try and summarize the Karma Yoga 4 sessions that we had. But then I thought to myself that if I am going to do all the work, then what are you all going to do? So what I suggest is all of you, please review your sessions, notes, whatever you have, and try and summarize in your own mind what Karma Yoga is all about, what our learnings from Karma Yoga are. After that, if you still need me to summarize, then I will try and summarize it for you. But first, I want you to work rather than me working on it. So I then decided to move on to the next topic. Now, if we go back to our original chart, the table that we had seen, our objective is that ultimate objective of liberation from this limitedness, this helplessness, this mix of temporary joy, temporary sorrow, etc., etc., and which is our true nature, that infinite, eternal uh, bliss is our nature. But we are not experiencing that. We are not there because of some obstacles. And first of the obstacles was impurity of the mind. And the solution to that was gaining purity, the Chitta Shuddhi. And the tool for that was Karma Yoga, which we discussed extensively in the last 4 sessions. And if you remember, the second obstacle in that was lack of Chitta Ekagrata, that is, lack of single-pointed focused mind. The obstacle is called Vikshepa. Vikshepa is that mind which is everywhere. It's not in one place. We'll talk about Vikshepa, what Vikshepa is. And the solution to that, the tool available for addressing that, if you remember, was Upasana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Upasana Yoga is a part of Bhakti Yoga. So today we are entering the area of Bhakti. Now, is this new? Actually not, because if you go back to even Karma Yoga, and if you remember the 3 important pillars of Karma Yoga was Ishwararpana, Prasada Buddhi, and Karana Buddhi, being an instrument. Ishwararpana is not possible unless you have some bhakti or some devotion in you. So bhakti or devotion is required even for Karma Yoga, although that is not the main focus of those practices, but they are complementary. So without bhakti, karma is not possible. Without the chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrata is not possible. So karma yoga supports bhakti yoga supports karma yoga, and they both support jnana yoga, which we'll take up the next. So let's talk about now the main hurdle that we talked about, Vikshepa. Let's go back also to our original simile of that lake, that my true self is at the bottom of the lake. What is preventing me from seeing my true self? And the water is the mind. So what is preventing me from seeing my true self, which will have to happen through the mind, is if the water is dirty, which is what we addressed, that karma yoga can help you remove that impurity and remove the dirt in the water. The second was if the water is turbulent, it has got ripples. And the third was if there's a cover on the water, like water hyacinth or algae or whatever, then you are not able to. So today we are addressing that turbulence in the water, the agitation in the water, the ripples. So by definition, then Vikshepa is that agitation or distraction of the mind not remaining focused on a single point. And our aim is going to be how do we bring the mind focused onto a single point? Because these two mind, purity of the mind and focus of the mind, are required for the higher practice of meditation, which is the ultimate practice in jnana, which we will come to later on. Now, if we were to look at what Vikshepa is, Vikshepa comes from the word kshepa. The root is kshepa. And kshepa means to throw, to toss, to project. And V means visheshat, in a certain way, in a special way. So Vikshepa is throwing your mind in different directions, whereas we want to focus it so that we can reach that ultimate that we want to reach. Uh, let's look at another simile here. Now, we all see movies, or we see serials, or we see different programs on the television or on the big screen, etc., etc. Something that you would not have possibly thought about or realized is that all through that period, what we are actually looking at is the screen. You are staring at the screen. But do we ever pay any attention to that? The images that are playing on that screen, the images that are being projected on the screen, take our attention completely. And we even lose awareness of the existence of the screen. But for the screen, projection is not possible. But the images of the projection engage our attention completely, and we completely ignore the screen. Same is the case with the universe. The screen is Brahman. The entire universe is projected on Brahman. But where is our mind engaged? Our mind is engaged in the universe. Like in the case of movie, our mind is engaged in the images that are being projected on the screen. What we need to do is make our mind capable of seeing through the images at the substratum, through the universe at the substratum, which is Brahman, which is where we want to reach. So, which means we need to learn to focus our mind, being able to separate the images that are being projected and being able to see the substratum. Now, in daily life, what does this mean? Just to indicate, I will cover about a little more. It is jumping of the thought from one to another, which is constantly happening in our case. Our mind is jumping from one thought to another thought to another thought to another thought. And we don't know why. We don't even know why this thought came, but it keeps jumping. Or it keeps lingering onto the of the past.
To leave.
Or it keeps projecting anxieties of the future. Or it keeps constantly seeking gratification through the sense organs in the external world. This is what is the state of our mind at this point in time, right? How does this manifest if we were to pay attention to ourselves? First is what is called restless attention. I am unable to sit in silence even for a minute. Focused on a single task, focused on a single thought, or focused on a single inquiry, I am unable to sit quietly focused even for a minute. This is manifestation of Vikshepa. Continuously, there's a monologue going on in my mind. Non-stop stream of uninvited thoughts, daydreaming, fantasies, mental debates. All this is constantly going on in my mind. This is manifestation of Vikshepa. Or I'm constantly fidgeting, not able to sit still. I have very shallow breathing. Or I am reacting impulsively. Or I'm constantly checking, is there anything new? Is there a new message? Is there any news? Constantly wanting newer and newer inputs, wanting newer and newer thoughts. Or, so this is the manifestation of Vikshepa. Or I have mood swings. Sometimes I like things, sometimes I do not like things. I like something, I do not like something. Something I like now, I may not like another time. I am happy today, I'm unhappy tomorrow. So I have these swings. This is again manifestation of Vikshepa. Or I want to be on a spiritual path. So I keep hopping gurus. I keep hopping texts. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I listen to so and so? Should I listen to so and so? I'm not able to continue with one single stream of thoughts. These are manifestations of Vikshepa. And I'm sure all of us then can relate to many of these, if not all. This is our current state, which is a state of Vikshepa. How does it obstruct my spiritual advancement? As I said, I am going to need a focused, concentrated mind for higher practices of Jnana Yoga, which is not possible unless I am able to focus my mind, which Vikshepa is preventing right now. So this is how it comes in the way. What does it do? One is it destroys that single pointed focus. Secondly, even if I'm able to focus, just focusing is not going to be enough, because finally at higher levels of meditation, I need to be absorbed. Vikshepa prevents me from that absorption. First, it prevents me from focus, then it prevents me from absorption. And the third thing it does is it strengthens my ego identification, because these thoughts are constantly reminding me of myself. So it constantly strengthens my ego, whereas my objective is to do away with ego and relate to that infinite entity, not this limited entity. So what do I do? How do I overcome Vikshepa? Now, there are two ways. One is remove it, and second is, as we have always said, dilute it. So dilution happens first, and then removal happens later. So dilution is, we have talked about this earlier, we need to move up in the ladder from tamas to rajas to sattva. And that sattva is the easiest to handle, tamas is the hardest to handle. So pay attention to your thoughts, address the thoughts which are tamasic first. As I said, replace them by rajasic. We had a discussion on this last time. And from rajasic, replace them by sattvic, and it'll be easier to handle that sattvic Vikshepa. The elimination of Vikshepa is possible through what is called as Bhakti Yoga, and specifically in Bhakti Yoga, Upasana Yoga. In Upasana Yoga, there's another a practice called Japa. So we will look at all these in detail. Apart from these, in these, what is covered are specific practices. If you look at the very first practice that will help in this process is pranayama. We have discussed this earlier that breath is a bridge to the mind. Mind and breath are very closely connected. State of mind reflects on the breathing. Breathing reflects on the state of the mind. So practice of pranayama is the first practice which will help focus your mind. Second, the practice that follows in Ashtanga Yoga after pranayama, pratyahara, which is withdrawing my sensory faculties from the world with constant practice, pulling myself inwards. Karma Yoga was outward focused. Bhakti Yoga and Upasana Yoga is going to be inward focused. So now we are beginning our journey inwards. So first we withdraw our senses. Mind will follow the senses automatically. After we stop the distractions coming from outside by withdrawing our sensory faculties, then the third stage in Ashtanga Yoga is dharana. After pratyahara, dharana, that is holding a particular thought. Now, dharana can be done in various ways. In Patanjali Yoga, so in yoga practices, there's a practice called Trataka. I don't know how many of you are aware of this practice called Trataka. In pure yoga practices, you take a flame in a constant atmosphere where there's no breeze, so the flame doesn't flicker. You place a flame at a certain distance from yourself and then focus on that flame without blinking your eyes. You do it till your eyes start watering. Then you shut your eyes, repeat. Now, this is a practice in Ashtanga Yoga for developing focus. So it's a pure practice. That's another practice that will help. We are not talking in detail about this practice, because this practice is a part of yoga practices. But those who are aware of it, or those who are not aware of it, do not know how to do it, can learn it from other places. But Trataka, so pranayama, pratyahara, that is withdrawing, and Trataka from Ashtanga Yoga will help. Then is a practice called Saguna Upasana. Now, if you remember our version of God, Nirguna Nirakara, Brahman, Saguna Nirakara, Ishvara, and Saguna Sakara, God, in different forms. So, devotional meditation on Saguna God could be Ishvara, could be Saguna Sakara, different gods. Ishvara is going to be difficult in the beginning, so Saguna Sakara is easier. We'll discuss in detail. So the in dharana, first practice is Trataka. The second practice in dharana is devotional meditation on a deity. And the third practice in dharana, where you're trying to hold something, is japa, chanting. Then again, you are holding your mind on a certain name or on a certain mantra or on a certain symbol or on a concept. So these three practices fall under the category of dharana, which is Trataka, when you're holding yourself onto the flame. Now, the flame can be replaced by a bright spot on the wall. It can be replaced, in our case, from the point of view of Vedanta, by an image image of God, you focus on that image till the same result, till your eyes start watering and absorb every single detail of the image. Then Upasana, which is meditation, but devotional meditation. And third is mantra or nama japa. The same practices will lead us to a state. So this is effortful practice. This will slowly lead us to what is called a sakshi bhava. If you do this repeatedly, it becomes perfected. You will start getting into a phase where this happens by itself. You are not doing it, you're only observing it happening. Now, that's a slightly advanced stage of Upasana yoga, where you're doing the japa, you are doing the visualization, etc., but not effortful. You are at the same time observing this being happening. That's called Sakshi Bhava. This will happen at advanced stages. If you are naturally gifted, it may happen very easily for you. If you're not naturally gifted, it may take some time. Now, of these practices, two practices we are going to discuss in detail. That is Upasana and Japa. So we will start with the discussion on Upasana today, and let's see how far we go. If we finish today, good. If we don't finish it, we'll continue with that secondly, in the next session. Now, what is Upasana? Now, Upasana is, as I said, part of Bhakti Yoga. So it requires devotion. Upasana is not possible without devotion. Now, devotion can have an external expression or it can have an internal expression. In Bhakti Yoga, devotion can express two ways. External expression of devotion would be puja, bhajan, kirtana, dance, various ways of expressing devotion. That's the external expression. Some of these can also lead to focused mind, because let's say if you get absorbed in your bhajana or your kirtana or your dance, yes, it can lead to focus. But that's not the focus that we are looking for, because we are going to graduate from here into meditation. So we are not looking at focus through an activity. We are looking at focus in the mind internally. So we need to focus on the internal expression of devotion, which means it is in the mind. So this is going to be in the mind. It's going to be purely in the mind. There is no external expression of this Upasana yoga that we're talking about. Now let's understand what is Upasana. The word by itself means Upa and Asana. There are two parts. Upa means near, Asana means seat. So what it means is sitting near. Sitting near what? Sitting near a chosen spiritual ideal, which can be through a mental worship of meditation on a deity. The higher ideal can be a deity, can be a sacred symbol, can be an image, can be a divine concept. But sitting near that with the mind focused on it, that is Upasana. Now, Upasana is, as we talked in the beginning, a bridge between Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, which we will see in future. Karma Yoga we have seen. So this is an intermediate step, which is a bridge. Now, what does it do? It connects the mind to God. So on one side here is the mind and the other side here is God. So at the mind level, what does it do? Unlike the ritualistic practices or the external expressions that we talked about, here you focus your mind on one of these things that we just now mentioned. Could be name, could be image, could be symbol, could be a concept, could be a thought. And on the other end, it reduces my distance from God because devotion is an essential part in this practice. Because devotion is an essential part here, as I practice more and more of it, my distance from God keeps reducing and I go closer and closer to God. Ultimately, God is going to be required for my higher practices. So it takes me closer and closer to God, and it can lead to absorbing the qualities of the version of God that I have taken for as my alamban, as my anchor. I can slowly start absorbing the qualities of that particular form of God and imbibing them in myself. So there are two prior steps required for Upasana. The first prior step is that I must have a deity, what we call Ishta Devata. What is Ishta Devata? My favorite God. All of us have preferences, even when it comes to God. My favorite God may be different from your favorite God or her favorite God or his favorite God. How do I select a favorite God? There are two ways we can select a favorite God. First is pay attention. Where does my mind naturally flow? Particularly in situations of trouble. When I am in trouble, which God do I first remember? Where does my mind flow? Which God does my mind flow to in case of trouble? Or in case of joy? Which God do I want to share my joy with? Now, this is a natural attraction. Mind flows towards a certain God. So that's one way of choosing a favorite God. That the God that you naturally resort to for sharing your trouble as well as your joy is one way. The second way of selecting a favorite God or a Ishta Devata is when we are choosing a deity, it is Saguna Sakara. So it has gunas, it has qualities. So one way, as I said, is where does my mind naturally flow, particularly when I'm in trouble, which God do I remember first? Or when I have joy, which God do I want to share it with? That's my favorite God. The second way of choosing is since you're choosing it as a deity is Saguna Sakara, it has qualities, it has attributes. Which God's attributes or qualities resonate with my own ideals? I would like those qualities in me. That is another way of choosing your favorite God. Because these are the qualities I like. This God has these qualities. So this God is my favorite God. So these are two indicative ways of selecting. You can have any other way of selecting your God. But you must have a Ishta Devata for this practice, for Upasana. That God can also be your Satguru. That God need not be a Hindu God. It can be from any faith. It could be Christ, it could be Allah, it could be Guru Nanak, it could be Buddha, it could be Mahavira, or as it can be Sadguru. Take your pick, but it should be somebody who you relate with ease, and for whom you have devotion, a sense of devotion. So first step is choose a Ishta Devata. The second step is build a emotional relationship with that Devata. There are various types of relationships you can build. If you look around, and let me give you some examples from history. Sri Ramakrishna had a emotional bond with Kali of mother and child. Kali was mother and he was the child. So it was a mother-child relationship. In case of Mirabai, it was the relationship of lover and the loved one, Priyatama, that he is my beloved. In case of Arjuna, it was a bond of friendship. Krishna and Arjuna are friends. So you can choose the relationship that you want to build with your Ishta Devata, but you must build an emotional relationship with that Ishta Devata. So choose an Ishta Devata and build an emotional relationship, whatever comes to you naturally. It may even be that you are the parent and the God is child. You have a lot of people who worship Bala Gopala, Laddu Gopala, etc., etc. So there is a certain let's say set of people who who worship the child form of our God. So they actually look after the child. They do everything like they do to a child, to that God, to that image. So it can be any relationship. You could be the parent, the God could be a child. It could even be a relationship of animosity, but that's also a relationship. But go back to what I told you earlier, that you need to move from tamas to rajas to sattva. So if you build a relationship of animosity, you will continue to be in tamas. So from history, if I were to give you examples, Kamsa had a relationship with Krishna of what? Hate, animosity. And when Kansa was killed, Kansa merged into Sri Krishna. Although it was a negative relationship, but there was a relationship. If you want to go that route, up to you. But that animosity or that hate will have to be that order that Krishna has to come or the God has to come to you, which is going to be unlikely. So don't go that route. I'm saying technically that is also possible, that you can even build a relationship of hate. But build a relationship, stay with that relationship. So two prior steps before we look at Upasana is selection of Ishta Devata and building a relationship. Once you have done this, then you need to understand there are few prerequisites in practice of Upasana. First prerequisite, we have already seen that it requires devotion. So it is an emotional practice. It requires an expression of love and devotion for that deity. Second prerequisite is regularity. That you must practice it regularly. If you take up Upasana, it cannot be, I did it today, I did not do it tomorrow, I do it when I have time. Or even otherwise, let's say, I do Upasana one day sitting down, another day I do when I'm in car, or when I'm in a flight, when I'm traveling, etc., etc. As far as possible, same time, same place, same type of Upasana, try and practice regularly. Make it a rule that you will not sleep unless you have finished your Upasana meditation for that day. Ideally, ideal time is early morning before distractions start, worldly distractions start. Also, mind is in a purer state at that time, but that may not be possible always. Pick your time. If required, you can change it, but as far as possible, same time, same place. Place is also important because what happens is with consistent practices, certain vibrations build up. And those vibrations also get absorbed by that place where you are sitting. Not only place, in fact, it is also recommended that you should use the same asana for practice every time. And do not use that asana for anything else. But that asana also slowly absorbs vibrations of your practice. If I were to give you an example of Sri Ramakrishna again, I thought I mentioned to you earlier that he had a nephew who used to take care of him. And Ramakrishna used to practice meditation in a certain seat in a Panchavati and under a tree. And one day, this nephew of his got a little curious and went and sat in that asana. And the very next moment, he jumped up and started screaming. He felt that his body was on fire because the vibrations of that asana were so high that his system could not handle it. Now, that's, of course, a very high level of vibration, but just to give you an example, that those vibrations get absorbed by your seat, your place, your room. So try and be consistent with that. The third prerequisite is practice. Now, when I'm saying practice here, abhyasa is practice vis-a-vis the mind. So when you try to focus your mind will move away. It is nature. It is mind's nature. It will keep moving away. You have to consistently keep practicing, bringing it back. It will go, bring it back. It will go, bring it back. Be patient, be persistent. That's why practice, abhyasa. Sri Krishna in chapter 6, Arjuna raises this question that my mind is very chanchala, is very, very fluctuating. I don't see any possibility how it can be concentrated. And this is what Krishna says, that you need two things. You need abhyasa and you need vairagya for this. So abhyasa is, with consistent practice, keep bringing it back to focus, keep bringing it back to focus, keep bringing it back to focus. There's also that doha, if you must be remembered, must be knowing, karata karata abhyasate jadamati hota sujan. So if you continue practicing consistently, persistently, it happens. Second, the fourth prerequisite is that same thing that I just talked about, that is dispassion or vairagya. As long as your senses keep pulling you towards indulgence, towards happiness outside, you will not be able to focus your mind because your mind will go with the sense outside. So you need to slowly start developing vairagya towards sensory indulgences. Then you will be able to focus your mind. Now, when do you deploy abhyasa and when do you deploy vairagya? So pay attention to your thoughts. When the thoughts come in, your mind goes with thoughts. If your thoughts are random, different types, what is required is abhyasa. Keep bringing it back, keep bringing it back. But if your thoughts go to the same place every time, go in the same direction every time, why is that happening? Because there's an attachment to that object of thought. Then you need to also deploy vairagya. Apart from practice, you also need to deploy vairagya, that start detaching yourself from that object towards which the mind is going, towards which the thought is going. So these are essential practices in the process. Now, which are the practices that qualify as upasana? We saw what are the practices that qualify as bhakti, but what are the practices that will qualify as upasana specifically? So the first practice that will qualify as upasana is internalizing the external expression itself. So external expression, the first thing that we talked about was puja. The same puja you do in your mind, called manasa puja. Instead of actually doing it physically, verbally, you do the same puja in your mind. So imagine that deity, invoke that deity in your mind. Offer all those things that you would offer to the god. Offer that prayer, offer that arati, all in the mind. There's a very famous puja, Manasa puja called Shiva Manasa puja. Very, very strong, very potent. If you have time, look for it. That's a very potent Manasika puja. You do puja in your mind. Shiva Manas puja is also used for another thing which we will talk about a little later. So Shiva Manas Puja, like that, it can be Manas Puja of any deity. Whoever your Ishta Devata is, do a Manasa Puja of that deity. That is Upasana, because it is entirely in the mind. Second is, it can be Upasana of a Pratika. Pratika means a symbol. So it could be Upasana of Om or Shaligram or a Yantra. Now, this is not an image of a deity. It's a symbol. So it can also be Upasana of a meditation of a symbol. Meditate on that symbol. Third, it can be Upasana of a Pratima, of an image. So image of the deity could be a Vigraha, could be a picture. So Upasana on the image, on a form. Or it can be what is called Aham Graha Upasana. Now, Aham Graha Upasana, in Aham Graha Upasana, what you do is you use yourself as the pratika. Instead of using the image of a deity, you use yourself as the pratika of that deity or that god. And you do your worship to yourself. Shiva Manasa Puja is an upasana of this type, although in the form of a puja. But in that puja, it is puja upon your consider. So this body is a temple. The life in this is God, and you do everything upon yourself. That is called Aham Graha Upasana. The highest Upasana is Aham Graha Upasana or Omkara Upasana or Pranava Upasana. Omkara is also known as Pranava Upasana. If your objective is to go to a higher loka, then Aham Graha Upasana is the highest Upasana which will help you go to a loka, and from there what is called Krama Mukti, sequential moksha, sequential liberation. We have talked about this in the past, so I'm not going to explain this in detail. So if you do Aham Graha Upasana, depending on which deity, if you're doing on Shiva, you'll go to Kailasha, you do on Vishnu, you'll go to Vaikuntha, depending on which deity you selected. If you invoke that deity in you and do that Upasana on yourself, you can go to that loka, and from there you can go to Krama Mukti. For Jivana Mukti, that is moksha in this very life while living, Pranava Upasana, Omkara Upasana is the highest Upasana. So these two are considered to be highest Upasana, Ahamgraha Upasana or Omkara Upasana, whether you want to do you attain Krama Mukti or you want to attain Jivana Mukti, are the highest. Now, what is the difference between Upasana and the earlier that we talked about Dharana and Dhyana of? Dharana is also focusing your mind. Dhyana is also focusing your mind. Upasana is also focusing your mind. What is the difference? Dharana and Dhyana, you're focusing on your mind, not necessarily on God. Where Upasana is you're focusing your mind on a deity. So in Upasana, you're using the technique of Dharana and Dhyana. But you're bringing in a deity, you're bringing in devotion. So it's a blend of Dharana and Dhyana as technique and devotion to a deity combined with it. So that is the difference between Upasana and Dharana and Dhyana. What is the difference between Upasana and Japa? Japa is a type of an Upasana. It's a subset of Upasana. Japa is also Upasana, but Upasana can be of various types. Japa is one of them. Now, what is the process involved in Upasana? How do I do Upasana? Do we have time right now to talk about the entire process? Okay. Uh, we will go through the process. We have enough time to be able to go through the process. So there are various steps involved in Upasana. Some of these steps are also steps leading to meditation. So when we talk about meditation, these steps will get repeated. So the very first step is preparation. Now in preparation, we already talked about two aspects earlier, time and place. That fix a time, fix a place, and try and be consistent there. And with that, and an asana, as I told you. Choose a environment which is clean, pious, positive, and try and be consistent, try and stick to that. That's the first part. The second part of preparation is preparing your body. Be seated on that asana with your body erect, with your head, neck, and the body in one line. You cannot sit relaxed. You can sit relaxed, then what will happen is lethargy will come in, sleep will come in, and your focus will not happen. For your mind to be attentive, for your mind to be, because our objective is not going to sleep. Sleep is also focus. Thoughts are gone. But our mind is to bring the thoughts to a single point. Our plan is not to go into sleep so there are no thoughts. We want the thought to be focused on something. So sit with an erect body. The posture has to be, you can sit in any asana that you can master. If you cannot sit down on the ground in an asana, sit on a chair, but with body erect. So you need to leave the back of the chair, move slightly ahead in the chair, and sit straight and erect. You can have your palms resting on your lap, but sit erect. Depending on how long you can sit erect like this, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, fix your time accordingly. You can slowly increase that time, but initially start with the time for which you can sit erect, whether you're sitting on a chair or you're sitting on the ground, without discomfort, without distractions. If aches and pains start, you're going to get distracted. So comfortably, how long can you sit? Take up that much time for your practice in the beginning. So this is the preparation. Now you selected the place, you selected the time, you sat down by the chair or on an asana. Even when you're sitting on a chair, use an asana on the chair, which is your regular asana for the Upasana, and keep that asana separate. Do not use it. You can use the same chair, but don't use that asana for other things. Second thing, after you sat down, you do is relax your body. Relax your body step by step, part by part. Take your mind to different parts of your body. Slowly relax your entire body. It's very important to relax your body, otherwise the tensions and stresses of the body will distract you. So sit down, then systematically relax your body, part by part, limb by limb. Having done relaxation, do some pranayam that you know. If you know some pranayam, do some pranayam for 2, 3, 4 minutes to steady your breath. If you do not know any pranayam or you cannot do pranayam, do breath observation called prana vikshana. That is, focus your attention on your breath. Do not do pranayam, but focus your attention on your breath. See it coming, see it going. Do nothing, just keep observing it. Again, you are quietening your mind, steadying your mind, bringing thoughts down. First step into focus, that is focus on your breath, coming in, going out. Just observe it. Mind will again go somewhere, bring it back to observing your breath. Again you'll go, again bring it back to observing your breath. From there, move on to pay attention to your surroundings. You hear noises, you your eyes are closed, so your eyes are not going out for sensory indulgence and involvement, but ears are open, nose is open, skin is still available for. Pay attention that it is receiving inputs. Slowly, slowly withdraw your senses from those inputs. So after you relaxed your body, deliberately and purposefully bring your senses into you. Withdraw them inside. So do not pay attention to the noise. Do not pay attention to the smell. Do not pay attention to the, if you feel breeze on your body, do not pay attention to it. Slowly, slowly bring your senses into you, called pratyahara. After you've done this, then choose your object of focus. As I said, it can be an image, it can be a name, it can be a mantra, it can be a sound, it can be a concept, it can be any of those things that you have thought about earlier. Bring that into your mind and start focusing your mind onto that. If it's an image, visualize that image in your mind. If it's a sound, visualize that sound happening inside you. If it's a symbol, visualize the symbol. If it's a mantra, you can chant that mantra, but in the mind. If it's a name, you can chant that name, but in your mind. If it's a thought you've taken, let's say you've taken a thought from one of the Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita, then think about that, but focus your mind on that. You can even take a thought. You can even take a thought from Bhagavad Gita and focus your mind on that thought. But then thought should be of that type only, of that subject or that object only, not different thoughts. Thoughts of that topic, that subject, that object. Once you start doing this, mind will go here, mind will go there, mind will go here, mind will go there. Keep slowly bringing it back, keep slowly bringing it back, keep slowly bringing it back. Over a period, first thing that will happen is all thoughts will become of the same type. What is called sajatiya vritti, that your thoughts will become of the same type. You will still have multiplicity of thoughts, but they will become slowly of the same type. This is, of course, with a lot of practice that you will do, but with practice, they will start becoming of the same type. As they become of the same type, and if you persist, if you continue with your upasana beyond that, slowly you will reach that stage that I told you about of being a sakshi. You will slowly start detaching yourself from it. The image will be there, but without visualization. You don't have to visualize. The sound will be there, but without your having to visualize that sound. The symbol will be there, but without your having to visualize. You are only watching. You will only be a sakshi. And if it still continues, you are able to sustain it beyond that. You will absorb in that image, that sound, that name, that mantra. What is happening here is your individual identity is slowly diluting and you're becoming one with that. But mind you, this is becoming one with a deity, an image, a symbol. This is not the ultimate meditation that we're talking about, but this is a practice which will help us there. But you can reach that stage where you become absorbed in that image, that mantra, that sound, that deity. That is a final stage of upasana. If I can do this constantly, that is, I practice upasana, what will happen? I will gain chitta ekagrata, as I told you, focus of the mind. We're training ourselves, focus of the mind. Mind also will become subtler, sukshma. It will become subtler and subtler. Being able to absorb teachings to a much, much deeper level. To be able to practice meditation, because for meditation, you need very subtle mind. So it will make your mind subtler. It will make your mind focused. It will make your mind subtler. It will make your mind steady. Chanchalata, the will slowly go, it will become nischala. And of course, it will soften your ego. As I said, the final stage when you absorb, your ego is almost diluted. So it will lead to these three benefits. It will give you ekagrata, it will give you dilution of the ego, and it will give you mental subtlety, which is going to be required. Sukshmata, it will make your mind sukshma, which are going to be required for both absorbing knowledge as well as deeper meditation later on. What are the signs that you're making progress when you practice this? You are able to sit quietly without thoughts longer. You are able to focus more easily than you were able to do earlier. Your emotional reactivity to situations as they arise comes down. You do not react to situations, to external impetus as much or as quickly or with that much of intensity as earlier. Slowly the reactions start coming down. You start responding, and that too in a far more, let's say, simpler and subtler way. The capacity to reflect on teachings will increase, which will be required later on, and the ease with which you will be able to get into meditation will improve. And this is the purpose of Upasana, to develop that ease with which we can go into meditation at the later stage once we have gone to that stage of Jnana Yoga. So this you will start noticing that I am able to go into. And the last thing that will happen is you will gain clarity of understanding. Things that you hear, things that you read, things that you do, your understanding will become clearer and clearer. So these are indications that you're progressing in your upasana. So this is what upasana is about. These are the different aspects of upasana. On this, if you have any questions, you're welcome. Okay, there's a question in the chat box from Bhushan. Whether you have explained whatever you explained today, I am doing it since last 29 years. Thanks for the knowledge. Very good. See, 29 years. Pay attention to that. This is called consistency and persistence. And the benefits arising out of this will be immense. Thanks for sharing this, Bhushan. This motivates everyone. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Okay. If they arise, you're most welcome. I can see Suvarna has unmuted herself.
Yeah, I just unmuted myself. I would say, uh, we need our mind to be alert at all the times, is what we
Absolutely.
said, right? And that this exactly is the opposite of what we are expecting when we are wanting to do Upasana. So during so we are
Not at
trying
all.
to,
Not at all. Let me cut you short. Not at all.
how?
Alert mind and focused mind, two
Mhm.
different things. Alertness will lead to focus. Why do you need to develop focus? What do you need? It needs to focus on a certain thing where the mind has a
Right.
tendency to go away. Only if you are alert will you notice that it's gone away and you will bring it back. So, alertness does not conflict with focus. On the contrary, it supplements focus. Alertness does
Okay.
not mean distraction. Alertness means it's a quality that you need for being able to focus. So it is a supplementary quality, not a supplementary practice of quality. It is not contrary at all.
So this is something I absolutely am not able to understand, because suppose if I'm sitting in one position and I'm focused, and a tiger comes to my way to eat me, for example, my mind needs to go away from this, needs hundred to think of hundred other things as to how to get away from there. And just again, one example. Being alert
So
is, and also like when we say the mind is distracted, it runs around here and there. So that all is part of being alert, is what I feel. If I'm
running
alert,
here
I'm
and there is
thinking
not
of
being a part of
future,
alert. How do you say running, thought running away or mind running away is a part of being alert?
in the
Oh,
sense not running away.
you are confusing alertness with activeness. That mind is an active mind, not necessarily an alert mind. Alert mind meaning a mind can be active in various things. It can be active in daydreaming. It can be active in fantasizing. It can be active in past. It can
So
be active in
those
future.
are distractions. Those are
But those are
distracted,
of the nature of
kinds
distraction. It's
of
active,
distracted.
active but
All right.
distracted. Alert
Agreed.
is
I agree.
active but focused. So let's say your tiger example. If your mind is focused at the same time alert, you will notice the tiger.
But
Otherwise, your mind
how?
is focused and not even not alert. You will not even notice the tiger. So alertness is required together with the focus. They are not contrary at all. They are supplementary. And if a tiger
Because
comes,
I'm,
live. If a tiger comes, give up your Upasana, run.
so I have all my senses inward. I'm not able, I should not focus on hearing anything. I should not focus on smell. I shouldn't, and all the senses are, kind of inward, and my eyes are closed clearly.
Correct.
So isn't it contrary? I mean,
Now, why is it contrary? What are you trying to do? That's why you sit in a closed room, in a place which is safe, which is secure, which is free from distractions like mosquitoes and creepy crawlies. That's why you select your place time accordingly, so that your distractions from the outside world are the least. If the
correct,
distractions from the outside world are least, then you don't need your senses to be looking out for those distractions. Only then will you be able to withdraw your senses. Otherwise, you will not be able to withdraw senses. That's why the importance of place, time, and seat as to where do you sit, so that external distractions are the least. And then only will you, if there is chaos around, pulling your senses back in is going to be a challenging thing.
right.
That's why initially you need to find a safe, secure, undisturbed place. If your practice becomes very advanced, then even in the middle of chaos, you will be still able to withdraw. But that's not where we are starting. So in the beginning, you are withdrawing in a safe, secure, quiet place. That's why I start from there. But alertness of mind is definitely required. Otherwise, your thoughts will keep going. You will not even know your thought is gone. If your mind is not alert, and if your thought has gone
Agreed.
away, you will not
That
even
also
know.
agreed.
And you're not alert, you will not bring it back. So alertness and focus are two different things, and they are complementary. They're not contrary.
Okay.
Any other? No. Okay. Group is
No,
all.
I have some question.
Yeah, Bhusha.
So I just put it down on the chat. Can you read
Oh,
it?
you have put in a chat.
Yeah. So people who are standing in a long queue outside temple and running from temple to temple.
So
So what
that
is that?
is an external expression of your devotion. You have devotion for a deity. So you go for pilgrimage, you go to a darshan, you go for yatra, you go do puja, you do kirtan, bhajan. That's an external expression of your devotion.
So it's not a
Will not necessarily
surrendering
give
of.
you chitta ekagrata.
Okay.
Here the purpose is gaining chitta ekagrata. So that is also good to strengthen your devotion.
Right.
But if it does not serve the purpose of strengthening your devotion, it's a waste of time.
Okay.
The
So
second question you
Ahamgra
have is
Upasana.
Upasana Ahamgra. Ahamgra is and Shiva Manasa Puja and Omkar Upasana, they are topics in themselves. So if
It's
we
not a
want
stage.
to, huh?
It's not a
And we
stage
are not
where.
at that stage right now. We are right now at a stage where we are just beginning.
Okay.
So if you're curious, you can read about it, but we are not at that stage at this point in time. If at the
Okay.
end of, after we finished our series of talks, if we still feel we want to know about it, we can take this up as a topic at the end of our series.
Okay.
Both Ahamgraha Upasana as well as the Omkar Upasana.
Okay.
So Omkar Upasana, for example, some of us in the group are practicing because we have learnt it from a guru. And for me to even talk or talk about it, I will need to take permission from my guru that I can talk about it, which
Oh,
should not be a problem. I should be able to get permission from him. But we can
okay.
talk about these at the end because these are topics by themselves.
That's fine.
So is it next stage from Manasa Puja to Ahamgraha Upasana? Not necessarily Manas Puja. From Manas Puja, you can go to Ahamgraha Upasana. They can be independent, but they can also be combined. Like Shiva Manas Puja is Ahamgraha Upasana and Puja together.
So Manas
Like
Puja is not been only of Shiva. It can
can
be
be
for
anybody.
anyone.
Can be anybody. Shiva Manas
Hmm.
Puja is already there by Adi Shankaracharya has written that Shiva Manas Puja verses,
Hmm.
and you can follow that. So let's say when you're doing Manasa Puja,
Hmm.
you can imagine the deity and a temple other than
Hmm.
you. You can actually physically imagine, visualize a temple. You can physically visualize a deity Vigraha sitting in that temple. Or you can visualize your body itself to be the temple and the deity
Right.
inside you. There are two ways of, but both are Manasa Puja.
Correct. Correct.
The second type is Ahamgraha. The first type is not
Okay.
Ahamgraha.
Okay.
So they
Understand.
can be combined into one, like Shiva Manas Puja is that way. It's combined. But they need not be combined. They can be independent.
Okay.
One thing
Thank
that
you.
I will always advise everyone, whenever you're
Hmm.
visualizing the deity, always visualize the deity in your heart, facing outward the way you are facing.
Hmm.
Do not visualize the deity sitting opposite you. Because when deity is sitting opposite you, you're keeping the difference between the deity and you.
No, but
But the
then if
deity is
you.
sitting inside you, facing outward like you are facing outward. Then there's no
But
gap between the deity and
I
you.
have something to share over here.
Yeah,
If you do Bhamri Pranayama,
yeah.
so there will be some light after maybe 10 or 12 Bhamri Pranayama, and there will be light in front of you, and then you can see something as.
That is completely unrelated. Brahmari pranayam may give you light, may not give you light. That depends on the
Ah,
practitioner.
but then,
Practitioner to
but
practitioner,
then,
you will see light or see
if
not
you
light.
bring something in front of you at that time, it is
Yeah,
not
but
called Manas Puja then?
no, that is different. This is different.
This is different. Okay.
Because there it need not even be God, no? It can be anything else. It can be just a light.
Light.
Here it
But
is.
if you try to bring some God, it will come.
So why Brahmari puja? It can be anything. Brahmari puja is not manasik. Brahmari pranayam is not manasik.
And
It's a pranayam. Whereas here we
Pranayam,
talk about
yes.
manasik, only in the mind.
Okay.
So pranayam will help you get into upasana. But upasana is entirely in the mind, nothing outside. So pranayam will help you quieten your mind. So Brahmari
Right.
can be a preparatory practice. Not
Thanks.
Brahmari
Yes.
is not upasana.
Okay. Understood. Thanks.
Okay, so for more questions, the group is always there, and directly also you're most welcome. So we'll close today. Next time we will take up japa as a practice. And japa is the most important of the practices for all of us. It is in the nature of upasana. Easy to do, at the same time, maximum benefit it can give you. And incidentally, in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna calls japa as the highest of yajnas that one can do. And also in Kali Yuga that we are in, the most recommended yajna is japa yajna. So japa is the most important practice for all of us to develop chitta ekagrata. We will talk about that in the next session. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Om Tat Sat Ishwararpanamastu. Hari Om. See you next week.
Hari Om.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Hari Om.